Hey guys, AngryMonkey here.
And Jackson Farrell.
How about that last episode, huh?
Yeah.
That was some pretty big stuff there. And we're going to find out more of what she's talking about. But yeah, her and Snake were both in an experiment that she was explaining. And if everything is according to what she's saying, it sounds like Santa might have been there too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because only those who were there 9 years ago would know those words.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway.
And this I believe, is probably the business that Seven busted up back when he was a cop.
Yeah.
So, anyway, let's find out. If you don't tell me stuff in the right order, I'm never going to figure it out.
Sorry. Clover nodded.
No, I can just reach over and advance it myself. All right, let's start with this experiment.
Or the Adobe folder.
What happened on this boat 9 years ago?
Do you know about morphogenetic fields?
He did, and the realization sent chills down Junpei's spine. While you're doing that, I'm getting some water.
How about this? Theory of the telepathic mechanism.
Junpei recounted what Lotus had told him earlier. Clover nodded.
And the narrator is back. Whoa.
Whoa!
And almost knocked stuff over.
Yep, a little bit of table hitting going on there.
Telepathy, huh? Well, that's not really it, but I suppose it's similar.
So they were testing telepathy on this ship.
Yeah, I guess so.
So, what exactly did they have you guys do?
The same thing that we're doing now. Exactly the same thing.
What?
The Nonary Game. 9 people were put on this boat, and 9 others were put in the building in Nevada. And the game started.
Junpei grabbed the sides of his head.
Look, I'm sorry, but I don't get it. What did the Nonary Game and some telepathic experiment have to do with each other?
I almost said Junpei. Clover bit her lip. She blinked back, sudden tears. What had happened to her in Nevada?
The ability to access a morphogenetic field is affected by a couple of things. The first is epiphany, and the other is danger. You know how sometimes when you're up against a really tough problem, and then the answer just kind of pops in your head? That's an epiphany. And what you learn from that epiphany can be transmitted with telepathy. When you add danger to that equation, then it gets easier to transmit that information over telepathy.
So you're saying the Nonary Game was supposed to introduce that element of danger?
Yeah, but it couldn't be just any old danger. It had to be life and death. And someone did actually die. A girl.
Junpei felt the sudden grip of despair on his heart. Something deep and distant and powerful squeezed, and for a moment he felt very, very empty and alone.
She was on the boat with my brother. I was in Nevada, so I never met her, but I did hear her name.
Hold on.
Her name was,
No! Ace! The sound of the door opening was like a gunshot. Junpei spun around.
Frickin' ace, man.
At the worst possible time, man!
Oh, my apologies. I seem to have disturbed you.
Again.
Ace. You two must have strong stomachs. I can't imagine how you would stay in this room for so long.
Well, we would have been out of here by now if you wouldn't have interrupted us. Ace glanced down at the floor, at the corpse covered in blood.
At any rate, Junpei, would you be so kind as to come and help me with something? I'm having a little trouble, and I could really use your assistance. Come on, it'll only take a moment.
Then you can come back to your love on the floor over there when we get back. With that, he turned and walked back toward the communications office. Clover waited until he was out of sight, then spoke in a small, quiet voice.
I don't want Ace to hear us. I know I sound like June right now, but that's kind of my whisper voice. We can talk about this later.
Huh? Hey, wait!
Clover ignored him. From outside, Junpei could hear Ace calling. Oh, Junpei!
Junpei, what are you doing in there? Hurry up. Arg.
Arg! Grumbling to himself, Junpei stomped off toward the communications office. Stupid Ace, I was trying to figure something out.
I be commandeering this vessel.
I mean, they already killed the captain, so...
I am the captain now.
Alright. Did you want to solve the puzzle, or did you want me to try to? Or...
I wish it were the wheel puzzle. Then I could say, it's driving me nuts!
Well, you could have said that in the previous episode.
Yeah, but then we didn't have Junpei's ARG.
Yeah, that's true.
This game's got everything out of order. It's supposed to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. We're done. The Morse code puzzle. Music box.
There's something missing.
That's, something in the drawer?
Oh,
electric lock.
Okay, piece of paper, that's what we need. And so then I need to combine that with that.
Okay.
And then that
yes.
with that.
Think ink.
And that. Okay. A chair.
Still a chair.
And I hope it still is a chair.
When is a door not a door?
When it's not a door.
When it's a jar.
Am I missing a reference?
A jar. A jar. A jar like open. A jar like a vessel to keep things in.
How do I get back to the thing? I can do that now. I have the thing.
There we go.
Okay. Okay, so... I can't really just tap. I gotta go with it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Morse code.
I wonder what this is actually saying. Future me. Translate, I guess.
Excellent work, Junpei. Good job. You seem to have figured it out. You've unlocked the drawer.
Oh, is that all I unlocked? Is that all I figured out? Was just how to unlock the drawer?
Good work, Junpei.
And we already know about that. Talking about Alice and all ice. Alice, did that mean? Junpei couldn't hold back. He had to know what was in that file. Each page was covered with strange characters. They looked like tiny drawings of birds, snake, insect, horned animals, wings, and even kneeling humans. There are very many of them in the file, and each one was full of these strange symbols.
What is this?
He didn't realize he'd spoken out loud until Ace looked over at him.
They are hieroglyphs, a form of writing used in ancient Egypt. Ancient Egypt? That's right. Can you read them?
No.
Of course. I can't. Ace's signature move.
Of course not.
What would make you think I could? What? Come on, man.
Junpei flipped through a few more pages. It wasn't just one or two pages that were covered in the strange symbols. Every single page was covered in them. Trying to read them was pointless. Junpei wasn't going to waste any more time with them. He made to close the file, and something fell out. He bent down and picked it up.
A key card.
And more stuff we've seen. Oh.
This must be a key to the library on the bottom deck. So it would seem.
The bottom deck. The library. Junpei remembered something he'd heard from Seven when they'd been in the chemical closet.
Alice sleeps in a small chamber past the forest of knowledge, beneath the label, beneath the navel of the gigantic. Not the label. It's not like you're gonna pry the label and see a secret.
Did beneath the navel mean the bottom deck? Did the forest of knowledge mean the library? If it did, then Alice was in a room somewhere beyond the library.
What's wrong?
Junpei blinked. Only then did he notice Ace looking at him. Curiosity and concern written across his face in equal parts. There was no reason for Junpei to hide his thoughts. He began to explain his theory to Ace. Then he stopped. It wouldn't make any sense if Ace didn't know who Alice was supposed to be. So he told Ace everything June had told him. About the Egyptian princess, or priestess, about Ice 9, and finally about the woman who wouldn't melt, who had been recovered from the Titanic disaster. He told him about how she had been called All Ice, which eventually turned to Alice, and how she had been purchased by an English millionaire who called himself Lord Gourdain.
And how Gourdain had hid Alice somewhere on the ship. And you think that he hid her in a small room beyond the library on the bottom deck. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess so. I see.
Ace stared off in the distance, his hand slowly and absent-mindedly stroking his beard. After a few moments, his hand stopped. He turned slowly to look at Junpei, and his brows drew together.
Ah, I found the piece of ham. Junpei, have you ever heard of the term CAS? CAS? It stands for Cells Alive System. It is an advanced technology for freezing and preserving organic matter. Blip, blip. Put simply, it is a technique that allows one to freeze things without the formation of ice crystals. Normally, if you freeze something fresh, water within its cells expands as it crystallizes, damaging the cell membrane. CAS, however, works differently. The object to be frozen is supercooled using magnetic fields, and then frozen instantly and uniformly, giving ice crystals no time to form. It was originally developed for the preservation of food, as an alternative to the normal freezing process. Now, however, there are rumors that it can be used for other things. What do you mean, other things? Well, I mean things other than the things that were mentioned before. There are obvious medical uses, but perhaps also space travel. Space travel? Are you serious? Surely you've heard of suspended animation, cryogenic freezing, Han Solo. It's a fairly common idea in science fiction books and films.
Oh, I gotta say something. I can't. Oh.
Perhaps save it for a later moment when what has been revealed is revealed.
I can't say even at the end of this game.
Oh my goodness. Oh well.
This is tearing me apart, Lisa.
Nothing to do but forge on forward through the script. People are sometimes frozen for especially lengthy journeys through space.
That was when Junpei understood what Ace was suggesting.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Wait a minute there.
Ace looked at him and raised an eyebrow.
Are you saying that Alice was frozen using that CAS thing? Well, I'm sure the possibility is quite low, but it is a possibility. If this special ice you call Ice 9 does indeed exist, And if CIS were used to freeze her into that sort of ice instantaneously, you think she could be alive? This is getting weird.
Yeah.
Well, I can't say for sure, of course. I'm only talking about possibilities. The melting point for Ice 9 is 96 degrees, right? If she were put somewhere where she could reach that temperature... That's nuts! Are you really saying she could have defrosted and started walking about? You're quite right. It does sound unbelievable. But if she had, then wouldn't we have an explanation for the man we found dead on the floor? You mean the guy dressed like a captain? Yes. He was dead when we found him. Clearly he was murdered. But if he was murdered, then by who? It couldn't have been one of us. That would be impossible. In order to enter the captain's quarters, one must first open door 1. The door that requires the Earth key prevented us from accessing door 1. Who was it that opened that door? Santa and Lotus. Right. Clearly the two of them could not have opened door 1, or any other door for that matter. Who else, then, could have done so?
Junpei thought for a second.
No, nobody.
After Santa and Lotus had used the Earth key, they turned back and met up with Junpei and June, who had just returned from E-Deck. The four of them then proceeded to return to the large hospital room to reunite with A7 and Clover. When Junpei and his team had gone into the shower room, A7 and Clover had been left in the large hospital room, but they would have been unable to open door 1. Perhaps when Junpei and June had taken the elevator door 2 then. No, that would have been impossible. They'd only been gone only 5 minutes. No human being could have run to the captain's quarters, killed the man in there, and run back in 5 minutes.
Thank goodness for all this recapitulation. It's helpful on subsequent playthroughs that sometimes they remind you where everyone's been.
Yeah.
Anyway, it would be impossible for any of us to be the murderer. That being the case, who could have killed him? Wouldn't it make sense if his killer was someone who had been in the ship for some time? Well, a person like that would know the ship well. They would know the locations of all the hidden passages and secret doors. The numbered doors would mean nothing to someone like that. It would be a simple thing for them to enter the captain's quarters. Then you're saying the killer was Alice?
It was Junpei's turn to raise an eyebrow. Ace drew his thumb across his lips thoughtfully.
Well, this is all only one possible theory.
And the narrator has nothing to say. All ice, Alice. Was Alice indeed somewhere on the ship with them? Junpei had only one clue. The key card in his hand. It would, he hoped, grant him access to the Forest of Knowledge. But beyond that, what waited for him beyond the Forest of Knowledge? Whatever might be there, however, would have to wait. At the moment, there was nothing Junpei could do. He gripped the key card tighter and shoved it deep into his pocket.
We're gonna have to build suspense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and picky uppy.
A unique key.
Did we get this before?
I don't know.
A key with a leather case. It isn't metal. My guess would be ceramic. Junpei, have you found a keyhole that might fit it? Shall I give control back to you?
Okay. So I guess we'll figure that out in the next episode, or maybe figure out what this key goes to.
Yep, we're gonna have monkey piloting until it's time for me to pilot.
Yeah.
So, we'll see you guys then.
See you guys.